Hi everyone, good morning. A warm welcome to my hometown of New York for those new and returning. My name is Sabrina Hall, and I'm an interactive art director at Scholastic. You know, Harry Potter, book fairs, classroom magazines, that's the one. There, I design, manage, and produce over 21 websites for our classroom magazines. So, we're all here today for 2 days of knowledge and growth, so let's get to the knowledge and grow together. Here are some quick little facts. That's me. I work on at a place that publishes books. You can find me on Twitter, and my favorite color is purple. So for the next few minutes, I'll be introducing you to the topic of digital accessibility. What it means, why it's important, why it's good for business, and how we as designers can make a difference. Digital accessibility reflects how we are all different and constantly changing and adapting to the world around us. It's also a benefit to those without disabilities that just have life changes. As we grow older, our abilities will change due to aging. If I get into an accident and break my arm, that's a temporary disability. Now, according to w3.org, web accessibility addresses discriminatory aspects related to equivalent user experiences for people with disabilities. Web accessibility means that people with disabilities can equally perceive, understand, navigate, complete transactions, and interact with the website and tools. It also means that they can contribute equally without barriers. So, what does this all mean? It means we have a responsibility as designers to do better. It means that by prioritizing accessibility with everything we do, design, product, development, content, strategy, we can lower the barriers to participation on the web. So, why should we do better? Why is this important? I used to think, well, this doesn't affect me. I'm not wearing glasses, my eyes are good. I don't have a disability. I used to say things like, the buttons look great. The colors are on brand. They're bright and colorful. That's exactly what the client wanted. Or my personal favorite, this is just an MVP. An MVP, I can fix it later. Since then, I've grown and learned that's not enough. I had to do better. We all have to start with accessibility at the foundation of our work. It means starting with the needs of others and building from there to include everyone. I'm just going to let this run for a few seconds. So I'm going to tell you a story. About 3 years ago, a blind US resident named Guillermo Robles sued Domino's Pizza. Domino's Pizza, everyone knows it. Saying that it was not accessible to people with visual impairment and argued that this was a right according to the Title III of the American Disability Act. Robles alleged that the ADA does cover the web and software, so long as the business contains physical locations in the US and solicits customers over the internet. This is interesting, right? Because there's a lot of internet stores that are now popping up as shops and brick and mortars. This is the experience of what someone would be going through depending on their disability. Recently, in January 2019, in a groundbreaking decision, a circuit court cited that Domino's must comply and must provide the blind with effective communication and full and equal enjoyment of products and services. So now Domino's has to spend millions of dollars to fix this. Millions. Currently, there are over 56 million people in the United States. That's nearly 1 in 5, and over 1 billion people worldwide who have a disability. How many of them are using your websites and products? Or, to flip it, more importantly, how many of them are not using your products because of lack of accessibility? In 2017, there were 814 website accessibility lawsuits. Last year, in 2018, that almost tripled. There were 2,258 lawsuits in federal and state courts. I'm just going to let that number sink in for a second. Some of them were settled out of court, but that's almost triple. So what you see here is just a glimpse of what someone has to deal with every day. In particular, I use this Chrome extension called Funkify to understand what someone with a disability might experience. Now, Please note, installing this plugin does not mean I now have empathy. It doesn't. I don't have empathy for this because I'm not colorblind. I'm not able to testify to this on a personal level. However, using this does give me a glimpse into the impact that my designs and my decisions make. It increases my awareness, it broadens my understanding of different kinds of disabilities, and empowers me with information I can share with others. It's a talking point as to why it's important to test our sites with real people who have disabilities and invite them into the process. So, when everyone's ready to go back after this chat now, say to your job, hey, let's not get sued. Don't worry, I have receipts for all of this data and I will back you up. So how do we get started? It's just a few minutes with this talk, so we're just gonna skim a little bit off the top. First, begin where you are, making sure that you do everything with an accessibility lens and focus first. With this talk, you'll see that I have no flashing images. My background color is quite dark, 08080F to be exact. And with that, it actually makes it easier on your eyes because of less light coming through. The next are a couple of words to know, and these are the first things that I learned about that had a direct impact on my work immediately, and now I think about it on a daily basis. So remember when I was referring to bright colors, being on brand? Up here at the top, this is an example of a current website, shall not be named, but according to their own press release and Nielsen, they get 25.9 million viewers daily across all devices in the United States. Those top 3 buttons that you see up there do not pass for accessibility at all. When you hover, you still get a very bright color, and the last one, that lime green, is actually what it looks like from someone who has a red-green color blindness, known as protanopia. 25.9 million views. Below that, if you can take a look, you'll see that the colors just made a little bit darker, black text, actually pass. That's now accessible. That's now compliant. So really, it just is a small difference. Now, as designers, I know we all love inspiration and colors, so this is a great place to start. This is one of my favorite websites. It's called cloudflare.design/color, and thank you to them for giving me permission to show it on stage. And what's really great is that it gives you so many wonderful color options and really over 900 color options and combinations that are accessible. 900. So if you're like, well, I don't know what color to pick, they've done the work for you. Overall, it's really important that we do not use color as the only way to indicate information. Now, more vocab. Many of you have seen recently that Twitter and Instagram added in the feature of alt text. It's really important for us to communicate the need and importance of having this text on any website or product we work on. As designers, yes, we're not always writing copy, but usually we're working with someone who does, or we're working with the developer who's developing other things. So we want to make sure that this is always a part of that conversation. Screen readers work hand in hand with alt text and make for a better experience for those with the visual impairment or disability. At Scholastic, I work closely with our editors, our director of product management, and all of our content creators to ensure that we have alt text on the websites we build. Smashing magazine. So now, many of you have heard about this joke, or if you haven't, there's this joke say, make the logo bigger. Everyone always talks about it. It's basically the client will always say to the designer, well, you need to make the logo bigger. But actually, even if you don't need to make the logo bigger, you might actually have to make your fonts bigger. So a good starting point, depending on your font family, is 18 pixels. Yeah, I know it sounds a little bit large, but it'll be okay. Accessible design is not just about making the colors darker and the fonts bigger. Again, it's about how we as designers can solve for more inclusive problems and think about the experience of others who were forgotten in our user personas. It's about making our work more usable, findable, and credible. So here you can see on this example, when you hover, you get a lot of these details, you get dotted lines, you get very cool colors when you scroll over it. These are all ways that you can make things accessible and still keep it on brand and colorful. Accessible design is good business. It increases the overall number of users on a site. This leads to increased engagement. Increased engagement leads to more revenue. So overall, it's a really good return on your investment. This is another great example. This is an e-commerce site. I particularly saw this slide when someone named Damien Sanger presented his work, and I absolutely loved it and wanted to show it here. So when we're thinking about color contrast, white space, and oh, we have to make the fonts bigger, it can still look really good. So now how do we scale this conversation? At Scholastic, increasing accessibility of our products allowed us to sell to a wider audience. It increased usability and provided more inclusive options vital to students, guardians, parents, and the teachers who use our products. How can you champion this work with your team? A couple of pointers. Ask questions. Find out where there are gaps in the experiences that people are having with your product. Do a quick audit. You can look at your work now and say, how can I take a look at these colors and make them work a little bit better? Study, learn, and educate others. We can only begin to make these requests after we understand what we are asking for. w3.org is the go-to resource. If you write down anything from this talk, it's that website. Then go to your team. Think about ways that you can sit together, audit your sites, take a close look at everything, work with your writers, your content creators. If you're able to, speak to your stakeholders on the importance of accessibility. According to w3.org, the global market of people with disabilities is over 1 billion people with a spending power of $6 trillion. They're losing money. Remind others also, hey, we don't want to get sued. And then just be innovative. We're problem solvers. Try to expand your point of view and solve for unanticipated problems. So this quote I really like. And explains why I really believe we have a responsibility. It says, the power of the web is in its universality. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. This person, Tim Berners-Lee, invented the web, and he's the director of W3C. Now, everything that I have presented today, again, it's just a small bit off the top about what digital accessibility means. I really hope that in our brief time together, you were able to gain some knowledge, grow, and that you can invest a little bit more time in this topic. I constantly take the time to learn from others, so a couple of other people you can check out are Regine Gilbert, Tatiana Mack, E.J. Mason, and Damien Singer. So let's all work together as designers with our teams. Let's collaborate and make accessible design our focus. Let's ask questions. Let's champion this work. Let's save your companies and clients a lot of money. And let's design for your future self, because I know that when I'm 70, I would like to still be able to shop online. Thank you.